I used to think of Twitter as the digital town square. A chaotic place, yes, sometimes noisy and full of strange people, but it was our square. It was where you found out about the news instantly, where memes were born and died within hours, and where you could have a surreal conversation with an astronaut, your favorite singer, and a mycology expert, all in the same thread. It was vibrant, relevant, and in its own way, indispensable. Today, when I open the app, that square feels like an abandoned shopping mall where only dollar stores remain. Guys shouting conspiracy theories, and a lingering smell of desperation. The question isn't whether it has changed, but how the hell we ended up in this mess. Everything sped up in October 2022. Elon Musk, the self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, bought the company for the astonishing sum of $44 billion. Less than 2 years later, Fidelity itself, one of the investors who helped him, valued the company at about 70% less. It's such a rapid and efficient destruction of value that it almost seems intentional. But to understand this slow-motion disaster, it's not enough to just blame one man and his late-night impulses. We have to analyze it for what it is, one of the most fascinating case studies in marketing and brand destruction of our era. And today we're going to break down the 5 key decisions, the 5 deadly sins that brought the blue bird to the brink of extinction. The first nail in the coffin was ironically a little blue checkmark. Before the Musk era, verification on Twitter was a symbol of authenticity. It didn't mean you were better than anyone else, but it did confirm that you were who you said you were. It was a fundamental trust mechanism for journalists, public figures, and organizations. In marketing terms, it was a form of social proof and authority that gave credibility to the platform. Then came the brilliant idea, selling that credibility for $8 a month. Overnight, the blue check stopped meaning "this is authentic" and started meaning "this person pays $8. The result was immediate and predictable chaos. Fake verified accounts of companies like Eli Lilly tweeted that insulin would be free, causing their market value to drop by billions. Fake politicians, fake celebrities, anything was possible. Trust, the most valuable asset of any social network, evaporated. Think of it this way, it's as if a prestigious university decided to start selling its diplomas from a vending machine at the entrance. The diploma doesn't gradually lose its value, it loses it instantly. Verification went from being a shield against misinformation to becoming an accelerator of it. It was the first step in teaching users that the rules of the game had changed and that reliability was no longer a priority. But paying for a blue checkmark wasn't just a matter of ego. It opened the door to a much worse plague. Shortly after, a monetization system was introduced for paying subscribers. The idea was that creators could earn money directly for their content on the platform. Sounds good in theory, right? The problem, as always, is in the details. The system didn't pay for quality, originality, or the value of the content. It paid for impressions, that is, for the number of times a tweet was viewed, and with that, the most perverse incentives imaginable were created. Suddenly the feed was filled with what is known as impression farming. The goal was no longer to start an interesting conversation, share an original idea, or make a clever joke. The goal was to generate as many views as possible at any cost. This gave rise to several types of junk content. First, the endless threads of generic self-help. 10 habits that will make you a millionaire before 30. Number 7 will surprise you. Second, the most basic and divisive engagement questions possible. Pineapple on pizza? Serious debate. And third, and most harmful, rage bait. Posting the most incendiary and polarizing opinion possible, not because you believe in it, but so that thousands of people quote and reply to you in outrage, boosting your metrics. It's like paying people to shout in a library. It doesn't matter what they shout, only that they do it very loudly. The user experience, the famous user experience, went down the drain. The only defense that emerged was community notes, a feature that allows users to add context to debunk false information. But it's like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. This new ecosystem of shouting for money needed fuel, and the new management provided it in a completely unexpected way. Every social network lives and dies by its algorithm, that mysterious code that decides what you see and what you don't. The old Twitter algorithm had its flaws, but its main goal was to show you content you might be interested in based on who you followed and what you interacted with. After the acquisition, the algorithm for the For You tab became a mess. Suddenly my feed, which had previously been carefully curated with economics experts, comedians, and news from my field, was filled with Elon Musk's replies to random memes, street fight videos, and political opinions from accounts with 12 followers that I had never seen in my life. The fundamental problem is that the product stopped serving the user and started serving the ego of its owner. Musk, with his millions of followers, became the main character of the platform. His tweets, and above all, his replies, were given an excessive algorithmic priority. This broke the implicit pact between the platform and the user. It was no longer, "We'll show you what's relevant to you," but rather, "We'll show you what the owner considers important today." It's like going to your favorite restaurant and discovering that the menu has been replaced by the dishes the chef happens to like that day. And on top of that, the chef sits at your table uninvited to tell you about his plans to colonize Mars. The experience becomes strange, egocentric, and ultimately alienating. And while the product was deteriorating on the inside, on the outside, it was suffering an even deeper identity crisis. This is the marketing lesson that will be studied in universities for decades. Twitter had one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. The name Twitter and the verb to tweet were part of the global lexicon. The bluebird logo was instantly recognizable. The company possessed brand equity built over more than 15 years, valued at billions of dollars. And one day they decided to throw it all away to call themselves X. A letter, a cold, generic letter, with connotations ranging from mathematics to pornography. It was an act of brand suicide without precedent. It's as if Coca-Cola, overnight, decided to change its name to Brown Fizzy Liquid and painted all its cans gray. All the emotional connection and accumulated recognition was lost. The language that united the community, tweets, retweets, was replaced by the awkward posts. The decision didn't follow any logical market strategy. It was driven by Musk's personal vision to create an all-in-one app, a super app like WeChat in China. But instead of building on the solid foundation he had, he decided to demolish the entire building and start from scratch, alienating his loyal user base in the process. With an unrecognizable brand and an increasingly toxic product, all that was left was the final blow, scaring off those who actually paid the bills. Despite all the talk about paid subscribers, the reality is that Twitter, like most social networks, survived on advertising. And advertisers have a golden rule: brand safety. No respectable company wants their family car ad to appear right below hate speech, a conspiracy theory, or violent content. With content moderation decimated and hate speech on the rise, Twitter, now X, became a minefield for brands. Big names like Apple, Disney, IBM, and many others hit the brakes or pulled their advertising investment altogether. It's estimated that advertising revenue dropped by more than 50% in the first year after the purchase. Musk's response to this capital flight wasn't to reassure advertisers, but to publicly insult them in an interview, telling them to go to hell. From a business perspective, it's insane. It's like owning the most popular mall in town, letting gangs fight in the hallways, and when Nike and Zara complain, climbing onto a table and shouting that you don't need them. The result is obvious. The stores leave and the mall dies. And so, piece by piece, the Bluebird was dismantled. Trust was sold for $8. Conversations were corrupted for empty metrics. The product became centered on the ego of a single man. The brand was wiped out in one stroke, and the money that kept everything afloat was driven away with insults. Twitter's downfall is not the story of a technological failure. It's a tragedy of consumer psychology and poor brand management. But is this the end? Can a social network of this size really die? Or will it simply transform into something else? A digital ghost? And more importantly, what have you noticed in your own feed? Speaking of digital ghosts, it's fascinating to watch giants stumble. Meta tried to create a Twitter clone with Threads and failed spectacularly for completely different, almost opposite reasons. If you want to see the other side of the coin and understand why building something new is just as hard as destroying something that already exists, I recommend you watch my analysis on the fall of Threads. I assure you the comparison will leave you thinking.